Well, they're still trying to find out how it is 19 elite firefighters lost their lives in that deadly Arizona wildfire. Lightning probably sparked this, but triple-digit temperatures and bone-dry conditions certainly didn't help calm this. In fact, much of the West is still dealing with a heat wave that's already proving one for the history books. And don't utilities across the region, indeed across the country, know it. Many implementing planned brownouts to avoid total power blackouts. But with a grid already being taxed to the fullest and a green car push that could have more Americans plugging into it. To Marc Morano of the ClimateDepot.com, who says we're already pushing it. And we really are, right? Because we're really taking away from traditional fuels to cars that you plug in, but they plug into essentially a grid that's taxed to the max, right?
It's not only taxed to the max, but it's actually powered by fossil fuels like coal and natural gas, which is almost 70% of the grid right there. And President Obama, as part of his new climate initiative, wants to have a war on coal, which is going to further tax the grid. And then with these new continuing mandates, higher fuel efficiency standards, and the subsidies now almost $10,000 per electric vehicle, we have electric vehicles that are going to be coming online to this grid that's going to really be maxing it out. The average household increases their electric load 50% when they start using an electric vehicle plug-in. So this is going to be a huge load. The New York Times has actually written about this. This is going to be a huge burden on our grid, and it's going to be maxing out transformers in addition to have heat waves like this and when you have even further restrictions on coal. So we have a contradictory energy policy here that is leading to brownouts and worse.
You know, here's where I'll respectfully disagree, Mark. I don't think we have to worry about this right now because the appetite for these cars just hasn't been there. Now, I guess you could force feed them down people's throat, up the credits and allowances you're giving people so they essentially get them for free. But we're nowhere near that. You worry that with enough incentives, we will force feed the issue and this becomes a huge issue, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Tesla is about 9,000 watts per hour use versus an average air conditioner, which is only 1,500 watts per use. Now, people say you use a smart grid and you plug it in certain times of the day, and you can actually, mitigate that a little bit in terms of the grid. But the problem is between the fleet sales and the subsidies, the mandates, and the higher fuel economy standards, and we're now talking continuing tens of billions of dollars in subsidies to these cars, they're going to keep increasing no matter what we try, no matter what the consumer choice is, because they're sort of being forced and they're discounted. And this is going to be a problem, especially
but, Mark,
as we have
the administration. I'm sorry to jump on you there, Mark, but the administration counters. That's why we're all for infrastructure spending and improving not just roads and bridges, but our grid. But your problem is, and it's mine as well, it's their solution to fixing that power grid is preventing it from relying on the very things that are so cost effective.
Yes, and abundant, like coal and natural gas. They're about to start a war on fracking. What's interesting here is you have a lot of, shall we say, environmentalists upset at high-definition TVs because of the power consumption, and they're getting upset. The Japanese government's telling its environmental ministers, telling its citizens to go to bed an hour early to cut down on their emissions and their energy use. But when it comes to electric cars and just sucking out all the coal and natural gas off our grids, there seems to be no end. No end of government subsidies or favoritism in terms of policy to make that happen. So it just depends on what energy-sucking, thing you are. But I would argue, if electric cars are viable, bring them on. Our grid should be able to handle it if we had a rational energy policy. I just find it funny that somehow there's a blind spot when it comes to electric cars because they're politically favored at this moment.
Did you say the Japanese are going to bed an hour earlier?
Their environmental ministers urging citizens.
You sure this isn't to address the population implosion? Maybe have more time to make babies? We don't know. We have no idea.
The new yes.
Well, it's a good guy. See, this is where my mind goes, Mark. Yours is too fine to even frequent this gutter. But very good seeing you again, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
All right. Well, you eat right, you exercise.